What's up, fight fans? Welcome to the Ultimate Fighter Season 26 finale post-fight show. My name is Flyin Brian J. Thank you so very much for joining me. As per usual on this post-fight show, you are my co-host. And my first question to you is, what post-fight letter grade would you give this card from top to bottom? All 11 fights on this entire son of a gun. As I'm looking at the Wikipedia that I use so that we can talk about these fights and having some sense of order about them, I see that Eddie Alvarez defeated Justin Gaethje via unanimous decision, 50-45, 49-46, and 49-46 for the inaugural Women's Flyweight Championship of the World. Of course, that's a bunch of baloney, and somebody just edited the Wikipedia. So the real result was Nico Montano defeated Roxanne the Happy Warrior Modafferi. Travis Anthony says 50-45. That's kind of bullshit. Doesn't matter, though, that one of the judges gave it 50-45. No. I thought it was clear that Nico Montano defeated Roxanne the Happy Warrior Modafferi. And also something that doesn't matter. That 50-45 does not matter. And it feels like to me that Nico Montano having that belt for right now honestly does not matter. If you're joining me for the first time, what we're going to do is go over this entire card, starting at the top, going to the bottom. If you want to listen to what I have to say and what the rest of the co-hosts have to say, but you don't have time right now, you can subscribe to MMA Mania on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, basically anywhere you can get podcasts. You can get the MMA Mania podcast feed. I don't think Nico Montano is going to hold that belt for a while. And before we start talking about the matchup and what post-fight letter grade I would give this entire card, let me say that I think that one thing we could do for Nico Montano is next she could fight Thug Rose Namajunas. Thug Rose move up, and then she could probably become the second ever two-division champion, two-division simultaneous champion. It's highly unlikely. She's a training partner of Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina could probably get the next title shot at 125 pounds in the women's division. For post-fight letter grade, let's see. David Reyes Sanchez, an F. Daniel Hodson, who won the belt, Nico Montano. J Money Schofield gave it a B. Ruby Canule is just laughing. Any top 10 from 115 to 135 pounds will destroy Nico Montano. J Money Schofield's that he's not on board with my Rose getting this title shot 125 pounds thing, but I know it's probably not going to happen and it's not legitimate. But I think I would pick her to win that fight against Nico Montano. I would pick Thug Rose like minus 300 to beat Nico Montano. And in the current state of affairs, the UFC seems to be lacking a star. They don't have Conor McGregor anymore. They don't have Ronda Rousey anymore, which there's some buzz on Twitter that maybe Ronda Rousey could come back and she could get the first title shot at 125 pounds. Wouldn't that be wild? But you could build a star with Thug Rose. You know, she's a two-division champion. She's decent to look at for people that are into that sort of thing. She's a very dynamic fighter. She's really young. She has the potential to have exciting fights every time she's out there. Why not? We could build her up a little bit. But I know I'm just talking out my ass, and it's completely unrealistic. Patrick Rogers says no, Rose is going to fight JJ again. I know. Just saying. Wouldn't that be fun? It would be fun, I think. Robert Verdell gives it a B+. Cody Halford gives it a B+. Okay, so my post-fight letter grade for this card, we only had we did 1, 2, 3, 4 fights went to a decision. The rest of them stoppages. I'm going to give the card at the very end a B-. Not a B-, a C-. It wasn't that fun. There were some fun moments. The main event's probably going to get fight of the night. Sean O'Malley showed a lot of good stuff. We're going to talk about the fights individually, but overall, I wasn't that entertained by the whole thing. I could have gone without watching the card. Some of you are going to be calling me a casual fan, but look, these fights started at 6:30 my time. It's now 12:30 my time, so it's 6 hours. And 1, 2, 3, 4 fights ended within 2 minutes, within 2.5 minutes. But the FS1 pacing tonight was the worst I've ever seen. The pacing was just god awful. Dan Healy, the announcer that was with Daniel Cormier, I don't want to poo-poo on him, but he wasn't great. He was a casual fan that didn't know much about it. When Brett Johns got a calf slicer submission on Joe Soto, Dan Healy asked if it was an armbar. Like, what, man? I don't know. There were a lot of moments on this night that were not impressive, that did not pique my J Money Schofield. It's 1:34 his time. It's 12:34 my time. This just wasn't that exciting, and like no fight meant anything other than the main event. And like I said, I don't believe that Nico Montano is going to hold the belt for any substantial amount of time whatsoever, just basically until her next title defense. So techniques used. Not a technique that was used, but in the main event, Roxanne came out and she was blinking a whole bunch. I know she normally wears glasses. You probably should not fight with contacts because your eye could swell up and then your contact gets stuck in there and you might have to have surgery to remove that son of a gun. I know people do it, but it's risky. So Roxanne came out, no contacts, no glasses, blinking a whole fuckload. Maybe that hindered her a little bit. As somebody mentioned earlier, Rory Ireland, mentioned that when we get back to that fight. He has a comment that we want to get to for the co-main event. Roxanne, as somebody mentioned earlier, Roxanne was training for a 3-round fight. She came in for a 5-round fight, and she looked a little bit slow. She looked a little bit frantic. At times in the 3rd round, she hurt Nico Montano and then decided to clinch her up against the fence and try to get the fight to the ground. I think if there were times where Roxanne is known as a grappler. She's known for her ground and pound, her submission game, jiu-jitsu. But on the feet, at times, she was hitting Nico Montano with some pretty powerful right hands. Some pretty good left kicks to the liver as well. But Roxanne just didn't want to engage in the striking department later on in the fight and would just kept going for these takedowns that Nico Montano would reverse because Roxanne was gassed a little bit, was tired. Not gassed, don't get me wrong, but a little bit tired. Nico Montano did a good job of moving away from her, countering the straight line punches of Roxanne with left hands, and then when Roxanne would go for takedowns, she would reverse really well, and then she did a good job of passing Roxanne's guard, getting the mount, trying to work for, it looked like she was going to try to work for a key lock or a Kimura type of thing, but in the end, Nico Montano basically out-volumed Roxanne Modafferi. It seemed like she had a clearer game plan, was more calm in that octagon, and she deserved the victory tonight. Like I said, I think moving forward she probably... Oh, and at the very end of the fight, J Money Schofield, thanks for reminding me, buddy, Roxanne almost locked in an armbar submission off of her back. She was working that every time she was put on her back and had Nico in her guard, but like with 30 seconds to go in the fight, she was on her back, Nico in her guard. She went for an armbar. It looked like she was close to getting it. Daniel Cormier got all excited that Roxanne was about to get that armbar, and Nico got out of it. That would have been amazing. In the last 30 seconds of the fight, it would have been shades of Anderson the Spider Silva versus Chael P. Sonnen the first time. Man, that would have been cool. She wiped Vaseline on her eyes. This is what J Money says. Those girls weren't on the same level as the top girls in the UFC already. Their striking just isn't on the same level. That's Skylar Jackson says that. Jeffrey Hovinga says, one of my predictions for tomorrow was a pretty boring night tonight. Yeah. I didn't say it at the beginning, guys, but I don't expect this video to be very long. I know if you're listening to the podcast version, you can see how long it is, but if you're here live with me like Cullip Campbell is, Ruby Canule, Joe Kendall, Jeffrey Hovinga. Joe Kendall says some of these 135-pound girls who can't cut to 125 are going to wipe the floor with these girls. Who can cut. Yeah, I know. Patrick Rogers, yeah, is here as well. Yeah, man, sometimes, a lot of times when you're watching fights, it doesn't matter what level of competition you're watching. Like Gerald Mearshart versus Eric Spicely, it didn't seem to be that high level of mixed martial arts happening in there for a while. But it was still some exciting shit. There were times tonight when It just seemed like not low-level MMA, but it seemed like watching an Invicta card. And you pair an Invicta card with Fox Sports 1 pacing, and it's just not a recipe for something that I'm going to remember for the rest of the weekend, even. You know, tomorrow we have UFC 218, a stacked card. Not stacked, but it's a pretty exciting card that we'll talk about soon. Here's a question that I like. Jeffrey Hovinga asks, what do I think about Daniel Cormier being a commentator? Daniel Cormier is my favorite color commentator because he brings a jovial attitude to the cage side announcing. He's so chipper and joyful that he makes me... I'm kind of a grumpy person, and I can't help it. I just wake up sometimes and I'm grumpy, and I'm like, God damn it, Brian, why is your personality kind of grumpy sometimes? And I'm not... It makes me upset, so I gotta meditate and do some yoga, do some namaste stuff. That's one reason why I do namaste when I close shows out. Enough about me. Daniel Cormier makes me feel happy, makes me feel chipper. Plus, he'll tell you specific things about what's happening in the jiu-jitsu department, what's happening with takedowns. Roxanne Modafferi in the main event hit a weird takedown where she had like it looked like a can opener type of thing, where she had the plum clinch, so she had her hands tied behind Nico's head, pulling her head down, and then went with a trip with her inside leg, an inside trip basically with her while having a plum clinch, and got her down briefly. And Daniel Cormier said that he knows takedowns and he doesn't know what to call that. I would just call it a plum clinch inside trip. But he teaches you things while you're watching the fights, while bringing a jovial attitude to the booth. And I really like Daniel Cormier's personality. I think he's fantastic. He messed up and he called Lauren Murphy Barb Honchak. But other than that, Daniel Cormier always brings a high level of sophistication and, happy attitude to the booth. And I fucking love Daniel Cormier. He's my favorite. I know a lot of people hate on him because he's a rival to John Jones, but I don't see how you can really hate on Daniel Cormier. Justin Darling, tell me again what you thought about the main event tonight. I missed the beginning of the show. Main event, extremely exciting. Not extremely, but pretty gosh darn exciting. It was heart-wrenching. It was back and forth. I thought Roxanne won the second round. Was it the second round? I'd have to look at the stats again. I thought Roxanne won the second round, and that's basically it. Or was it the third? Anyway, and Nico won the rest of them, but it seemed pretty back and forth. There were some ebbs. There were some flows. There was that moment where Roxanne almost had the armbar at the end. There were moments where it seemed like Roxanne was so tired that Nico could turn up the volume, maybe get a finish. Everything about that, to me, leads to a fight of the night, and I really enjoyed it. But, Justin, as you mentioned, I don't think either girl's going to... Nico Montano's not going to have the belt past her first title defense. John Balaba says, say my name. John Balaba. Got it. Uchigari. Oh, Pedro Ortega saying that was an Uchigari, the takedown. Hey, another DC on commentary fan. I don't necessarily think he's the best, but I think he's got a lot of undue hate. That's from James Hayes. I love him. Bob Honchak. Sorry about that. Cruz does a better job of breaking it down, in his opinion. That's from Rory Ireland. True. Dominic Cruz is a better technical analyst than Daniel Cormier. But Cruz is all business. No joy. No fucking jokes. No kidding around. He's telling you the facts, and that is it. That's all he's doing. He's like, this is the fact. This is a fact. I got this fact from him when I interviewed him before the fight. Here's another fact. This is what's happening right now. Daniel Cormier, he's laughing. He's like, ha ha, that guy told me yesterday the funniest story. Oh, he's also hitting a calf slicer right now. What he needs to do there is figure forward the leg, pull the calf down, and he's got it. So, the blending of the attitude and the analysis is why I prefer Daniel Cormier over Dominic Cruz. But I could see why you could prefer either guy. It's like, what kind of Jolly Rancher do you like, watermelon or blueberry? It fucking doesn't matter. Neither opinion is right. It's just I prefer watermelon. And that is in no way in relation to race. Who's better, Felder or Cormier commentating? Cormier. Cormier is enough of those questions about Cormier. Cormier is my favorite, and like Skylar Jackson says, Cormier and Rogan, it's my favorite duo. Boom. Love it. That's it. Justin Darling couldn't agree more. Jesse Payne says Cormier provides a high level of wrestling analysis in which no one else can really do. Yeah, and then last time I'm going to say it. Daniel Cormier, even though he got head kicked, obliterated by John Jones in his last fight, he's just so happy. That guy, I'd like to call him just once a week and be like, Daniel, I'm having a bad mood, buddy. Let's talk for 5 minutes. And his chipperness and his laugh that he does, he's got like a fat man laugh. I had a grandpa that had a funny fat man laugh. He's got one of those, and it just makes me happy. Let's talk about the co-main event. Sean O'Malley versus Tyrion Ware. Unanimous decision in favor of Sugar Sean O'Malley. 29-28 across the board. And somebody said... Jeff Hovinga, we'll get there. We're going to talk about tonight first, and then toward the end we're going to talk about tomorrow. Somebody told me Daniel Cormier's keys to victory for Sean O'Malley versus Tyrion Ware, and I don't remember them. Sean O'Malley, when he was on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, he showed a very diverse striking attack, a very loose, I like to say Gumby, because he's just like very loosey-goosey in there, all over the place, spinning stuff. He's really long bantamweight, and he showed that against Tyrion Ware here tonight. But also, after going through some adversity and seeming a little bit tired in the second round when Tyrion Ware used some physicality to put the pressure on Sean O'Malley and get the better of him in the striking department in that round. In the third round, Sean came out with a renewed sense of what was happening in the fight and used some wrestling. I think he scored like 3 takedowns in the third round while also recovering from being a little bit slowed. I won't say gassed, but slowed in the second round. Very impressive performance from Sean O'Malley. What's next for him? He said he wants to fight in Vegas again. I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying that they would like to see Sean O'Malley fight Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres. Not going to happen. They both train at the MMA lab, and the last I knew, Bruce Leroy Alex Caceres was one of or the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach at that gym. So I highly doubt he's going to fight Sean O'Malley. It would be fun, though, the afro spinning stuff. But Sean O'Malley, he's going to need to fight like a fringe UFC caliber opponent next. He's a super young dude. We don't need to throw him to the wolves yet, but he will be must-see TV. He could be like the main event of the Fight Pass prelims. You know, the last fight of the Fight Pass prelims. That's where he belongs. It's where he needs to be. But he showed a lot of composure tonight. He showed a lot of dynamism with his striking and with his overall mixed martial arts game. His defense was poor, but I saw Patrick Wyman on Twitter say it, all young guys are going to be hittable. They haven't figured out their range. And some guys, when they're young, I feel like they believe in their chin a little too much. And then as they get older, they, notice that they get rocked a little bit. So they need to, like Alistair Overeem, who's fighting tomorrow night against Francis Ngannou. When he was on roids, he had, his chin was pretty damn good. Then he realized he doesn't have a chin, and he has to play his strategy to kind of hide that chin. And then most older fighters, as they go on, like Anderson Silva, I know he got knocked out a few times toward the end there, but his bobbing and weaving game was a way to kind of not make up for chin, but make up for his slowing speed to get people to play his game. As Sean O'Malley gets older, he will adapt to his own style and get some of that veteran savvy. And right now he doesn't have that, but that's why we shouldn't throw him to the wolves just yet. What do we got for the comments? Sorry, guys, I've been neglecting you. Jose Medela says we need to talk about Gaethje versus Alvarez. Sean O'Malley is a fun fighter to watch. Jeffrey Hovinga. Justin Darley, not to stray too far from tonight's card, but who do you favor between Reem and Ngannou? Jack Mooney says Sean O'Malley versus Tom Duquesnoy. Man, that's a lot of violence and that's a lot of fun techniques that's going to be going on in the octagon, Jack. But don't you think Tom Duquesnoy would crush him? I think so. James Hayes, that's how I do it, brother. I'm not here to... Sometimes I try to back things off. I need to be not as staunch in my opinions. But with that, I mean, he was definitely eating horse meat. Alistair Overeem back in the day tested his testosterone was like 20 times higher than the normal man should have. That's quite obvious he was doing something extracurricular. All right, the rest of the card, there are some points we need to talk about. I know everybody wants to talk about tomorrow's fight card, so let me pull up that and realize that Stanley Honeycutt, I haven't seen him for a while. When you have a fighter doing the commentator, you're going to have better, more educated commentating. Yeah, like Dan Healy was not great tonight. Just a casual fan. All right, so I'm going to give my post-fight bonuses for the Ultimate Fighter Season 26 finale, this fight card. And then we can talk about tomorrow night's card. But what I wanted to say is that you should know that we'll be talking about tomorrow night's card 1 hour before the fight starts. So the fights start at 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time, so I'll be here at 5:15 p.m. Eastern Time, hopefully with a guest, and we'll talk about those fights then. But we can go over them a little bit now after I give my post-fight bonuses for this card. Fight of the night has to go to the main event, Nico Montano versus Roxanne Modafferi. Next post-fight bonus is going to go to Gerald Meerschaert and Brett Johns. Gerald Meerschaert for his body kick, the liver kick on Eric Spicely, hit him like 3 times in a row. The third one sent him careening to the canvas. Brett Johns for his calf slicer submission over Joe Soto, 30 seconds into the first round. And you know how we do it here on the Flyin Brian J post-fight show, because we're not actually giving out $5,000. We're just playing with Monopoly money here. My extra post-fight bonus is going to go to Ryan James, because my, oh my, what a comeback victory he had in the 4th fight of the night, defeating Andrew El Dirte Sanchez via TKO with punches at 59 seconds of the 3rd round. Amazing. Patrick Rogers, this is just a pale ale, not an IPA, just pale ale. It's Monkey Knife Fight Pale Ale by Rubicon Brewing Company. I'm going to finagle away in my mind to pair this beer with next weekend's card. So if you've ever watched my beer pairing videos, like the weekend before the fight, so like on Friday, I'll buy my beer for the weekend, and I'll buy what I'm going to pair next weekend's card with, so that like I can pour it tonight and then do my video on Sunday or Monday and not have to drink on Sunday or Monday. So a little behind the scenes there. It's 5.4% alcohol. Okay, so do you guys want to talk about the rest of TUF 26, or do you want to talk about tomorrow night's card? I've not tried any Australian beer other than Foster's in the oil can, 32-ounce oil can, Foster's. Other than that, I don't believe I have. But, Jack, I have used Australian Galaxy hops in my homebrew. Australian Galaxy are my second favorite, and Nelson Sauvin from New Zealand, I believe it is my first favorite hop. Yeah. Okay, talk about tomorrow's fights. Justin Darling's drinking Lagunitas. I can't drink Lagunitas. The reason is I'm pretty sure this is owned by a local company. But anyway, I support craft beer, independent beer. Lagunitas is owned by Heineken, which is a major company. They produce too many barrels of alcohol per year to be considered craft or independent beer. And I support the local guys. Like, I have a lot of friends that brew beer around my area, and I want to support local all of the time, so I don't buy anything that's not considered independent beer. And Lagunitas, while I used to like them, once they got purchased by Heineken, can't do it. Because, I can only drink so much. There are literally and I don't want to talk about beer too much, guys, but there are literally 4,000 breweries, maybe 5,000 independent breweries in the United States of America alone. Like, so I could drink one beer every single day for a long fucking time and never even try every brewery, let alone, like, most breweries make like 6 to 12 beers. So I'm going to support the local stuff rather than the big box beers, because I like to support people like I have a brewer here in my hometown that wants me to make some videos for him. Lives a couple blocks away from me in a modest little home where the owners of Budweiser, those fuckers are living in mansions. It's just like buy local. I'm making. We're going to talk about beer for a while. Jack Mooney, I don't like or drink Corona. The reason is Corona, it comes in those clear bottles, and what's the problem with those clear bottles is there is a compound in hops that when it interacts with light, it gives out that skunky aroma and flavor. Corona packages in those clear bottles. So like Corona, if you're not in Mexico, like I've only ever had skunked Corona, and it's because of those clear bottles. The sunlight interacts with the hops and gives out that skunky thing. So Corona's disgusting. It's also, I believe it is owned by InBev. InBev owns like 2,000 beer brands or 200 beer brands. InBev owns Budweiser, Busch, Michelob, Modelo, a whole bunch. Alexandru Bucar, says I should try dark beer. Next weekend, I'm going to make a beer that is like technically a winter warmer. It's a spiced beer, but it's a winter spiced beer. It's a dark beer. It's going to be in the color range of a stout, but I'm going to add vanilla and cinnamon with a little bit of like a roasted chocolate flavor to it. So it's going to be pretty lit. Yeah, I'm going to make that next either Saturday or Sunday. The ingredients will be here on Monday. Carte Blanca, dark glass. Corona is owned by Heineken. Are you sure? Yeah, I only drink craft beer, Jack. I like I'll have a Hoegaarden every now and again because there was a friend of mine on Twitter who died this summer from the UK that liked Hoegaarden. So I'll drink that. If I'm at my... Actually, no. Yeah, I only ever drink craft beer. Other than that Hoegaarden from time to time just because I want to honor that guy. I used to like stay up late night when I'm working on videos and that guy would like talk to me about life and beer and stuff on Twitter direct messages, and then he passed away from cancer. So, and he loved Hoegaarden. So every once in a while I'll have a Hoegaarden, but other than that, yes, just craft beer. Talking about beer for a long time, guys. All right, Caleb Campbell, we're losing viewers probably. So, all right, let's talk about tomorrow. You want to talk about the main event? Do you want to talk about Gaethje versus Alvarez? Quickly, while you guys tell me what you want to talk about first. Justin Darling says I just like strong beer. No, this is 5.4%. I actually don't like strong beers because what I like in beer is like one thing I look for is crushability, which is like 4 to 6%. So you can drink multiple of them on a Saturday and not just be obliterated. I've made a couple of barley wines. I've made a couple of double IPAs that have 9% alcohol. But you like two of those, obviously each one is like 2 beers, and it's just not that fun because you drink them at the same pace as you would a normal beer, but then like 2 in and you're just fucked, and then you can't taste them anymore. And my favorite thing about beer is tasting them. So that's one thing. That's why I like to try different beers every single time so I can taste more and more. Felder versus Oliveira. Jack Mooney's torn on who he wants to pick. Wait, Ricky Burke says he's got an Oregon beer called Beer Cellar I'd break out if you stop by, mostly wild sours. Ricky Burke, I love the Crux Fermentation Project. Good golly, I've had a couple of their beers and they're fucking amazing. I too, James Hayes and Jack Mooney are having trouble on Charles Oliveira versus Paul the Irish Dragon Felder. My initial reaction was to go with Charles Oliveira. I mean, Paul Felder has lost to lesser competition than Charles Oliveira, and a lot of people knock Charles because maybe he quit a little bit against Max Holloway. But so in the stand-up department, sure, Paul Felder is way more dynamic, but will he pull the trigger? Will he actually, will he look really good? He's also been focusing on other things, like becoming a commentator. There was a time when he was doing Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. He's been in the commentating booth a little while, for a bit. So his focus might not be on the fight. And then if the fight hits the mat at all, Charles Oliveira, it's good night. Like, he's going to wrap this bitch up in a bow and take it home for a victory. But if Paul Felder shows up in good form, he's got nearly 70% takedown defense, and he lands more strikes per minute. He's the more dynamic striker, of course. So yeah, I'm on the fence a little bit as well. But basically, if you're looking to make bets, and I'm not a very good bettor, guys, but do you guys bet? Do you ever look at bestfightodds.com? It's down. It's something's wrong with bestfightodds.com, and I don't know where else I could look for odds. I mean, I know I could look at 5 Dimes, actually go to 5 Dimes, but I prefer just going to Best Fight Odds. You don't have to log in or anything. I don't know. But last time I looked, this fight was a pick'em. Okay, here's some odds. They're on. See, the ones on UFC.com are never correct. Ones on UFC.com have Oliveira at -125 and Felder at +105. If it's that, then I would go like a half unit on the Irish Dragon. So Paul Felder via decision or Oliveira via submission. Could you play both of those at plus money, and if either one hits, you could win money? That's something you could do. Are we just talking about this like bros? If Felder's favored, then just play Charles Oliveira. I don't know. That's a very tough fight. Very tough fight to call. I'm with you guys on that one. But is it going to be exciting? Hell yes, that fight's going to be exciting. Here's a fight that I'm not on the fence about. Alex Cowboy Oliveira versus Yancy Medeiros. I think Alex Oliveira, is he underrated? Is he just under talked about? That mother hummer is... Patrick Rogers has some good things to say here. Felder by TKO, Watterson by sub, Ngannou by KO, and Aldo by decision. Aldo's not winning a decision, brother. It's just not happening. Let's talk about that, because that's the one I actually did some film study on. And yeah, James Hayes, Alex Oliveira is going to smash him. Jacare close by takedown domination. Jeffrey Hovinga, betting is completely different than predictions. It's way more difficult. It's way more goddamn difficult. I'm not cussing at you, I'm just cussing at myself, because betting is way more difficult than playing UFC Pick'em. Like UFC Pick'em, I'm like number 300 in the world out of hundreds of thousands. But betting, I don't know, I'm not great at it. I need some help. Anyway, let's talk about the main event. And if you haven't already watched my video, then we'll talk about this. So in the first fight, Aldo came out guns a-blazing early. It seemed like he stunned Holloway a little bit there in the first round. Then he was trying to go for the kill, and he lost his gas tank at the end of the first round. And beginning in the second round, Holloway was having more success countering Aldo's rushes, his explosive rushes, with left hooks and getting out of the way. Also in the first round, when Holloway would go in for one of his 3-4 punch combinations, Aldo was using his feet to get away from those attacks. In the second round, he got tired and he started being stationary. He was just using his torso and then would clinch up with Holloway when Holloway came in with those attacks. And then in the third round, Aldo was having trouble even clinching up when Max would do that, and then Max, of course, put him away. I just think that, I'm talking about Patrick Rogers saying, and I'm not talking down to you, this is my argument, this is my half of the conversation. Please know, I'm never trying to talk down to any of you. Aldo does not have the cardio to defeat Max Holloway in a 5-round decision. Maybe Aldo the first 2, but the last 3 are going to be all Holloway. Then you have to consider that Holloway was going to fight Frankie Edgar, and then Aldo's coming in here on somewhat short notice. So the last time Aldo fought Holloway, he's known he was going to fight Holloway for a long time, had a full camp, came in, still gassed out. Now he's coming on a short notice, didn't know he was going to face Holloway for that long. Also, Holloway is one of these guys that it takes him a while to to download his opponent's attacks. Basically, this fight is going to start the 4th round of his fight against Aldo. So he already has his information downloaded. Avoid that early onslaught of Aldo, and then Holloway's got it in the bag. Skylar Jackson, do you think Aldo really had a leg injury that kept him from throwing kicks last fight? They blamed it on that during the pre-fight show, but last 2 fights he really didn't throw too many leg kicks. There was at one point where Andre Pederneiras said that Jose didn't throw kicks because of his leg injury. There was another time where he said he didn't throw kicks because Holloway was countering with the right straights. So because Holloway came out in the orthodox stance, so his lead leg is this left one, that's in front, and Aldo likes to throw the kicks with his right leg. So he's going to go with his right leg to Max Holloway's left leg, the lead leg, and that's going to leave Aldo open for the right straight. And that punch is what ended the fight basically for Aldo. I know it was ground and pound and shit, but it was the right straight from Max Holloway that put Jose down. And there was early on in the fight where Max countered the only leg kick that Jose threw with a right straight. So I think that is why Aldo didn't throw those kicks. If he tries to throw them again, like if he tries to throw them in this fight because he was criticized so much for not throwing them in the last fight, I think that would behoove Max Holloway. It'll give him an opportunity to counter. Caleb Campbell says either Aldo knocks Max out in the first 2 or he loses. That's pretty much it. Which is crazy to say, too, because if you look at Aldo's historical record, is he's won every single fight that's gone to the 4th round. But he's also almost won all of his fights. He's 26-3. His 2 losses, 1 loss to Conor McGregor, 1 loss to Max Holloway, 1 loss super long time ago. But I just think that Max Holloway is going to get this fight done. Is he... maybe it's too much unknowns. I don't feel like parlaying him. I don't feel like betting on him. But I do think Max Holloway will get the victory. Jeffrey Hovinga says Overeem has more experience and is more technical. Don't underestimate him. So we'll talk about Alistair Overeem versus Francis the Predator Ngannou. Excuse me, guys. One thing to keep in mind, Francis Ngannou is basically untested. A lot of people like to talk about Francis got stiff-legged by a jab from Curtis Razor Blades in his UFC debut. But, man, Francis hits so damn hard, and he's, like, a lot younger. If he's not that much younger in, like, years on Earth than Alistair Overeem, he's younger in fight years. Look, Alistair Overeem, 43-15. Francis the Predator Ngannou is 10-1. That's, like, literally a fifth of the fight miles. It's almost a sixth of the fight miles that Alistair Overeem has. That is a lot. Alistair doesn't have a great chin. Francis does hit hard. That metric that they made up to say Francis is the hardest hitter in the world, that's bullshit, kind of. You know, let's take Alistair Overeem in there and see what he could do to that machine. Maybe he hits harder than Francis Ngannou. But I'm scared about Alistair Overeem's chin. I'm going to pick the Predator and cheer for Alistair Overeem. No bet for me. Ricky Berghughes, Reem's chin will fail him. Yeah. Why would they lie about a leg injury? Stanley Honeycutt says Aldo does throw a lot of kicks. I don't know why people do anything. Why would Tito Ortiz say he broke his fucking... No, wait. Mike Tyson said he broke his back after a fight once. Like, what? Why do fighters say... Tito Ortiz said he broke his head or something. Why do fighters say lots of weird shit? Who knows? Overeem has gotten so much better defensively and picks his shots so much better, but the problem is that if he takes a clean shot, there's a good shot that he blows up. Yeah. That was James Hayes. Yeah, Overeem could fight a perfect fight for 14 minutes and just catch one right hand and go to sleep. That's the problem here. But I would like to see Reem get the victory. Really, really would. Patrick Rogers, because Tyson is insane. Yeah, that's true too. Jeffrey Hovinga, Francis Ngannou has never faced a top 3 contender. He's pretty new to the MMA, and Overeem has faced a lot of top contenders. Overeem's like arguably one of the best heavyweights to ever fight. Look, he has victories over Brock Lesnar, which isn't great, but that's a huge name on his cap. He has victories over Fabricio Wojtyła over Doom. Mark Hunt knocked him out. What else is like huge on his resume? Roy Big Country Nelson. Junior Dos Santos. I mean, the guy's resume is enormous. Like Jack Mooney says, Overeem usually has a reach advantage. He doesn't against Ngannou. Ngannou has a 3-inch reach advantage. 83 inches for Ngannou, 80 for Reem. Reem likes to stand like forward with his chin out there. He's slowed down. Like you could see, even though, like when he knocked out Andrei Arlovsky, yeah, it was impressive, I guess. Even though Arlovsky's chin is completely depleted and he's kind of washed up, Reem's punches not felt because I didn't feel them, but they seem slower. I just don't like Badahari. Yep. Belfort, Vitor Belfort. Yeah, Reem's resume is out fucking standing, as you guys are saying. But I don't see him beating Francis Ngannou. It's sad. But at 43 and 15, I mean, what do you expect? Let's talk about Cejudo versus Sergio Pettis. Sergio looked phenomenal against Brandon Moreno, the assassin baby, the smiling son of a gun. Well, that's neat and all. You know, Brandon Moreno was a surging contender. But who did Cejudo look great against? He looked fucking incredible against Joseph Benavidez, even though he lost. Like, his boxing looked way better. And then he looked incredible against Wilson Hayes. And I know that there's a lot of hype around Sergio Pettis right now. His striking is really good. He's really fundamentally sound. How many finishes has Sergio Pettis had in his fucking career? 0? Is it 0? No, 1. Was that against Moreno? Nope. Why does it say... Oh, he went to a decision against Moreno. Pettis has no KO or TKO victories in his UFC career. All decisions. I just think the wrestling, the very highly improved boxing and power, the power that Cejudo showed in his last 2 fights, even though, like I said, he lost to Joseph Benavidez, outstanding. He looks faster than ever, which is crazy because he's gone through an Olympic, wrestling career. Now he's 11-2 in mixed martial arts. I think he's going to be too much for Sergio Pettis. And if he doesn't get a finish, he'll certainly get a decision. Chris Pate says he's going to KO or TKO Pettis. Chad Webb says, I'm looking at Cejudo as much more mature fighter, and he looked great in his last fight. Cejudo was a changed man after he lost to DJ. That's Dingo Diggler says that. Chris Tuttle says he wants Cejudo to win personally, but he likes both fighters. Ricky Berkue says Cejudo crushes him. Yeah, what are the odds in this fight? Let's look, guys. Cejudo minus 280. I parlayed Alex Cowboy Oliveira with Henry Cejudo. At the time, it's close to even money. They're going to get a minus a little bit, but I think that's a good parlay. But since I said it and my luck is terrible, it's probably not going to happen. But I think it's a good parlay. I think both guys win. Shouldn't be that difficult. Cejudo's, Pettis is an effective fighter, yeah. He doesn't score many impressive shots, but he wins. Jack Mooney's doing some MMA math here. Moreno took Pettis down early in the first and nearly subbed him, and then therefore Cejudo should be able to do the same. I think Cejudo should have his way with Pettis. Maybe not his way, but man, he wins in all facets of the game, doesn't he? He's the more mature fighter. He hits harder. He's got the wrestling in his back pocket. He maybe doesn't have a speed advantage, but man, he looks so fast in his last 2 bouts. Sivartson PS asks, who do I have in Alvarez versus Gaethje. I'm riding or dying with Justin Gaethje. I know everyone's talking about that Gaethje gets hurt sometimes, and they're going to get in a firefight. They're going to probably exchange hooks in a phone booth. But man, Alvarez gets hurt all of the time. Alvarez gets like funky eyes a lot, and he does not check leg kicks. The pace, the leg kicks. I think Gaethje has it. I know he could get wobbled, but then when he gets wobbled, he's going to come right back like a fucking Wolverine and finish Alvarez. Sure, if Alvarez can put Gaethje down with a single punch, like out cold single punch, sure, but I don't see that happening. Even if he hurts Gaethje, I think Gaethje recovers so quickly. That dude is a cardio machine. He's incredible with that, and he's loose with his care. So he seems loose in the mind, which anecdotally seems to let him have a better chin. And I'm gonna ride or die with Justin Gaethje. Dylan Etheridge thinks that Eddie is going to fight smarter. I'm going with my Philly boys, Felder and Alvarez tomorrow night. Eddie hits much harder than Michael Johnson. That's probably true. I don't know, man. If you want to do some MMA math quick, Patrick, like Johnson put down Dustin Poirier. Poirier nearly finished Alvarez. Michael Johnson has super fast hands. Super fast hands. One thing but Michael Johnson, here, just thought of this. Hear me out. Michael Johnson throws straight punches. And Gaethje likes to block him with his head. So he takes him on the top of the head, and then it hurts his opponent's hands. And he doesn't absorb the shake of the brain by taking the punches there. Eddie Alvarez doesn't throw straight punches. He's going to be throwing hooks. So doing this, like bending down to take a punch here, isn't going to help you with a hook. Oh. So it just, gave Eddie Alvarez a better chance than I originally thought. But as soon as I saw the matchup, I said to myself, Petrograd, MMA math never works, I know. But God, it's so close. I'm just so excited for the fight. I almost do not care who I should pick or who I want to win or who's going to win the fight. Oh, I got a notification. I'm so excited to watch the fight because it's going to be a barn burner. It's going to be like a high level of violence for however long it lasts. And obviously, it's everybody's pick for the people's main event. It's everybody's prediction for the fight of the night. And without a doubt, that's what it's going to be. I mean, like I said, these two dudes are going to come forward, they're going to get in a phone booth, and they're going to fucking throw down. Probably. Chris Pate says, Johnson versus Alvarez after this coming loss, then we can see who hits harder. Good one, Chris. Let's see that. Hey, let's check back on the card we were supposed to be talking about tonight, and let's see where the post-fight bonuses went for the Ultimate Fighter Season 26 finale. Performance bonuses went to Montano versus Modafferi, Mearshart, and Johns. That's exactly what I said, but I gave the extra bonus to Ryan James for the comeback victory. Yes. Fight of the year. Yeah, Fight of the year candidate. Oh, Johnson's a featherweight now. He moved down. Good point, James. Well, guys, we've covered the card a little bit. We'll cover the card more in depth tomorrow, an hour before the fights start. I hate to just hang up on you guys because I really do appreciate you for Wait a second. Sean Boseman says, everyone keeps saying how good this fight is going to be, but Eddie has shown he's content with holding dudes. He's not going to be able to hold Justin Gaethje, is he? I really don't think he could. Gaethje has a little bit of a size advantage. Gaethje has a similar wrestling chops. I don't think Alvarez is going to be able to hold Gaethje. If Alvarez comes out and tries to hold Gaethje, I think Gaethje fucks him up. But, anyway. Yeah. Thank you for hanging out, Justin, James, Patrick, Sean, Jeffrey, Jose. Could it be Jose? I don't know if you're Portuguese or not, Spanish or Portuguese. Just say James, Chris, Dylan, Jesse Payne, Caleb Campbell, Sivartan PS, Stanley Honeycutt. If I missed you, I apologize. But I'll be back here an hour before the fights tomorrow to do a pre-fight show. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to MMA Mania on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, wherever you get podcasts. Please like my Facebook page. It's at Flyin Brian Show. Follow me on Twitter at Flyin Brian J. Follow MMA Mania on Instagram. It's at MMAmania.com with the dot spelled out D-O-T. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much once again for hanging out with me. I'm truly blessed to have your support and to be able to hang out with you guys. Namaste. Now I'm going to drink a beer, download the episode, turn it into an MP3, and re-upload it to SoundCloud before I go to sleep. So I do a lot of work, guys. Later on, y'all. Cheers.